Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Jungle Show. Glad we all could join us. This is a pre-recorded episode. I'll be going live on YouTube and on podcast for the first time. Glad to start that and get that rolling. But today we're here to talk about some Auburn basketball, just like we are here every week out of the year, 52 weeks out of the year here on the Jungle Show and Auburn Daily YouTube channel and on now Auburn Daily's podcast feed. And if you want to check all the amazing stuff out on auburndaily.com, just go there or at the Auburn Daily on Twitter. Let's go ahead and get started to talk about the Auburn games we're here to talk about. I brought in my dad and co-host again. Dad, how are you doing?
Good. Got a win last night, SEC win. It's more than I can say for Arkansas and Kentucky. So let's start the show off right and give Kentucky some grief about losing badly to Missouri.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we got a dub, not a real pretty dub last night, but a dub nonetheless. But we've got more games than that to talk about, don't we?
That's right. Yeah, we've got some Auburn games to talk about today. So firstly, we want to talk about the West Coast trip that Auburn took, playing their two games, playing in Los Angeles against USC, and then going up to Seattle to play Washington, splitting those games, going 1-1, losing by 3 to USC by a score of 74-71. And played pretty well in that game, but Boogie Ellis and USC, they made more plays down the stretch at the end, had a lot of turnover troubles and foul troubles for Auburn, and then able to get back in the groove, especially offensively, and get a dominant win over Washington by a score of 84-61. Really was a tone setter, especially offensively. We'll talk about it here in just a second, but really impressed from this Auburn team. Being able to bounce back after USC, go up to Washington and play the way they did was impressive.
Yeah, let's I'm going to say something that maybe a lot of people may either disagree with or wonder if I've fallen and hit my head. We lost to USC, and I think it was the best game we played all year.
Yeah.
The only difference, the reason we lost is we got bit by a turnover bug that I don't understand. They're not that aggressive defensively. In fact, they played zone the whole game. But I still think if we cut those turnovers even in half, even a third of those turnovers out, we win that game going away, and it's really not close at SC. So I thought we saw Janai Broome step up that game with 16 points and 8 boards. I felt like we started getting in a rhythm, and I think we can beat a zone by putting Jalen in at the free throw line.
Yeah.
He only had 8 points in that game, but Jalen is what we were told he was going to be after the Miami game in the tournament last year.
Yeah.
He's the centerpiece of this team. Whether we want to believe it or not, he is the centerpiece of this team. And I think he showed it in that game, flashing to the middle. So while we lost the USC game, I thought it was one of our better performances. The Washington game, the first half wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. But that second half was, like you said, it was a clinic on offense, which we hardly ever do a clinic on offense.
Yeah, we haven't
nowadays.
Seen yet this year. And it was impressive. Going back to the USC game, just like you mentioned, the turnovers were a major problem. Auburn had 23 turnovers this game, just to USC's 12 turnovers due to a very veteran backcourt for USC. And Boogie Ellis, who had 28 points and 2 assists in this game and played outstanding. But just like you said, I do agree that this was one of, if not Auburn's best games overall in terms of offensively, defensively, finding out more identity about themselves in this USC game. Not only did we, just like you said, we found out about Janai Broome has hit a stride, and we'll talk about him when we talk about the Washington game and Florida game as well, but he has hit a stride. He had a great game against USC. He went 1 of 1 from 3. He went 7 of 8 from the field, had 16 points and 8 rebounds. He looked dominant. Also fouled out of the game. Another guy that also fouled out of the game and really hit the scene in this USC game was Trey Donaldson. really establishing himself as the backup point guard while we continue to see Chance Westry not get a lot of minutes due to struggles that he's having. He only had 1 minute in this game. I think he had a few minutes in the Washington game and did not play it at all against Florida. But Trey Donald, it's not because Westry's been really, really bad, even though he has really struggled. It's because Donaldson played so well, especially in this game against USC, really proving that he's here. He's here.
You know, we talked about it before the West Coast trip about what do you do with Westry? He has it, but he just wasn't. I couldn't get him to play like he did in Israel.
Yeah,
and part of it may have been that knee. So Bruce gave Trey Donaldson a chance to back Wayne Green up.
That's right. Yeah.
At USC, and Donaldson came out and was dominant. Played great. Like defensively great. He had 12 points, 2 of 4 from 3. Had 2 boards, an assist, two turnovers, and 4 steals. He had 4 steals. So he's +9 in a game we lost by 3.
Yeah.
So I think that Trey Donaldson was given an opportunity and stepped up. And when he's given that opportunity, he stepped up and grabbed it.
Yeah.
And really played well and has been ever since then. Like you said, his minutes have gone through the roof as a backup point guard while Westry's been on the bench. And maybe it's good that Westry's on the bench, get his knee back so he's totally healthy. We're not trying to work him into being healthy. We're going to play him when he is healthy. I still don't know what's going on with Traore.
Struggling.
I still don't know what's going on.
Man. It doesn't look like he knows where he is.
5-star guy that is just, he looks lost out there right now. And I love him and I want him to do well. And I believe that he will do well. But right now, Bruce is narrowing his bench. And he's playing about 8 guys where he was playing 11.
Yeah.
9. He's playing 8 or 9 and getting Westry in probably in 10 for, like you said, a minute or 2. But he's narrowed his bench going into the SEC season, and I think that's what he had to do. One of our big weapons is depth. But when they're not playing well, you can't put them in there.
You're right.
You got to play bigger minutes.
Yeah. And
Wynn's going to play more minutes. And
Jalen's going to play more minutes.
Janai's going to play more minutes. Not that Cardwell's going to play more minutes too.
Yeah.
I worry. Let's continue. Let's finish up talking about the West Coast swing, and then we can talk about last night.
Okay, but yeah, moving on to talk about Auburn's. Just like you said, the first half was it was okay. Auburn goes up 8 at the end of the first half, but then scores 53 points in the second half to win by 13 in the second half to win by 23 overall, 84-61 on the road at Washington. And just like you said, it was a straight clinic offensively in the second half. There was about a 5-6 minute run for Auburn in the second half where we scored every single time down the court. And it looked just like the Auburn team that we were all expecting to see coming into the season. Mm-hmm. And yes, the offensive struggles are happening for a lot of teams. There's not a team out there that looks brilliant offensively, but there are teams that have longer stretches in certain games where they have that certain time period where they look like they are putting on a clinic. And Auburn showed that they have that in this game right here. Man, it looked good. In the second half, it was outstanding in the second half. Look, Jalen Williams and Janai Broome both had 18 points and 8 rebounds. They kind of solidified themselves as the 1 and 2 guys on this team, in my opinion, at least as of right now. I know Wendell is the offense is going to run through Wendell. It always will, but unbelievable. An outstanding game from Chris Moore. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with him, and we'll talk about more about him in the Florida game. But he was unbelievable in this game. Had 12 points, made 2 threes, went 5 of 6 from the field, had 2 rebounds. He looks like he is completely taken over. We talked about preseason. We were like, okay, when does the starting lineup change from Chris Moore to Alan Flanagan, or maybe Chris Moore to Chance Westry? That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen anytime soon. If Chris keeps playing like this, he is a pleasant surprise so far in this season. And even guys off the bench in that Washington game, especially in the second half, Donaldson was outstanding. Had 7 assists in this game. He was great. Dylan Cardwell looked really good. He's a guy that's going to have to play. Leo Berman came in for minutes. Chance and Yohan both scored. That's really impressive. The one thing I want to point out, and this goes for not just the West Coast trip, but also the Florida game. We talked about this in the struggles that Auburn had against Memphis. Got completely wiped on the rebound, on the boards. In these past 3 games,
it's been
Auburn has completely flipped the script on the rebounds. Talking about USC, a game you lose by 3, you win the rebounding battle by 13. Against Washington, you won the rebounding battle by 18. Against Florida, you won the rebounding battle by 12. So Auburn has completely flipped the script from where they were before, to talk about in their loss to Memphis, about just getting outworked on the boards. It doesn't look like that anymore, especially with Janai Broome and Dylan Cardwell playing the way that they have been.
Yeah, and I thought so we played Memphis and got just manhandled on the boards, and it scared me. We had not been rebounding real well all year. We go to USC, and we, like you said, we beat them on the boards, but they play zone. And so I thought that may be an apparition. That may not be real.
Yeah.
Because it's harder to rebound out of the zone. When you're playing man, you box out your man. You're responsible to keep him off the board and go get the rebound.
Yeah.
When you're playing zone, it's a little different. It's a little different that you don't have a man that you're responsible for. You have an area.
Yeah.
So rebounding's harder. So I thought, well, that's really good. We out-rebounded them.
Yeah.
But let's see how they do against Washington. And we killed Washington on the boards. And I thought, well, that's really good, but it's Washington. Not real sure that we shouldn't out-rebound them. But we got to play against Castleton, against Florida in the first SEC game. Let's see how we do there. And we're ahead of them in rebounding the whole game.
Yeah.
It was dominant. So maybe we've got that part corrected, but I don't understand the turnover issues that we're having. We're smarter. We're a seasoned. Our guards are seasoned. We shouldn't be having these types of turnovers. And they almost beat us like in the Florida game last night.
Let's just say this. Auburn has completely gotten into the turnover bug. It's happened to a lot of college basketball teams, at least so far. A lot of it is very aggressive defense. A lot of it is very good defense by opposing guards who know how to get up in people's faces and know how to guard. But a lot of it is self-inflicted, especially with this Auburn team. And in the first half against Florida, Auburn had 12 turnovers. Now, you finished with only 15. You only had 3 turnovers in the second half, which was very good. Better. And one of the reasons you won the game.
Yeah.
But you cannot have 12 turnovers in that first half because, you go down in this half, you go down 3, you win the game by 3. There's no reason we should be down 3 to this team at halftime at all. And if it weren't for the 12 turnovers, you would have been up by double digits probably. And this game wouldn't have had to come down to the amazing play by Wendell Green at the end and the turnover by Colin Castleton. But I don't know.
We've got to get that fixed. And
you've got to get that fixed.
Obviously, Bruce harped on it at halftime.
Yeah, for sure.
I made the comment to you at halftime. I was like, not a locker room I want to be in right now.
Yeah.
Because we looked like we were sleepwalking at times in the first half last night. We looked like we didn't care a whole lot early on. And, well, not early on. We were up 7-2. But then we tend to go through lulls of multiple minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, with nothing. with 0 on offense.
Yeah.
If our defense wasn't pretty good, you get blown out in those situations.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to score the basketball on a consistent basis. And look, Wynn made the 3 to end the half. And walking off the court, if you're a lip reader, he probably didn't need to be a lip reader. It's pretty easy to tell what he was saying. He was saying, give me the, not a nice word, ball. Yeah. Just give me the ball. And you and I made the comment at halftime, Wynn, you're the point guard. You've got the ball all the time.
Yeah.
So
shoot it.
Take over. And he did. He came out the second half and kept that going and got us back into a situation where we could win the game. But we've got to find, I thought going into the season, Janai Broome was that guy. When we struggled shooting or whatever, we just pass it down low and let Janai work. And for the first few games, he was not.
No, yeah.
Last night he was.
The past three games,
he's been the guy that hook shot's starting to go in. That little move, the spin move and laying up, starting to go in. He actually is dunking the ball instead of trying to lay it up.
Yeah.
Maybe he is that guy. I know Jalen Williams is that guy.
Yeah.
And we did it. We went to him a lot.
I want to talk about Jalen in the sense that he needs to be that guy. He's the top guy on the team. He's the best. He's the most versatile player on the team, especially offensively. But it doesn't look like he knows he is. It doesn't look like he has any idea that he is the best offensive player on the team. And it shows when he gets the ball. He has been trained and coached to be a number 2 or number 3 guy on the team. That's how he's been in his first 3 years at Auburn. Now he's being told, dude, if we don't have anything, you or Janai's got to shoot the ball. You've got to get the look, and y'all can. You just got to do it. And I think that just comes with time. That comes with time. That comes with reps. That comes with having those certain situations to put Jalen in, and he excels in it. Janai has shown, especially recently, that he can excel in it. Especially even last year, he was excelling in it. So I think that is a extreme bright side. Another thing that I want to talk about outside of the turnovers, something that Auburn needs to fix, is the dadgum free throw shooting. Good Lord. Holy cow. 67%. You miss 8 free throws and you win a game by 3. This could have, completely take 3-point shooting out of the game. Florida made 3. We made 3. We each shot less than 21% from 3-point range. It was a horrible shooting game. You completely take that out of the win. You've got to make your free throws. If you make your free throws, you win this game by double digits.
And they weren't guys that – it's not like it was Dylan Cardwell shooting free throws every time.
Yeah.
It was Zep Jasper, who was 0 for 2. It was Jalen Williams, who was 1 for 3. I'm sorry, 2 for 2. Sorry. K.D. Johnson was 4 of 7, missed 3 of them.
Yeah.
Wendell Green missed 2 of them, 6 of 8. He's an 80% free throw shooter. Janai Broome made 2 of 3. Good for him.
Yeah.
Dylan missed his only free throw, but it's guys that look, Wayne Green, K.D. Johnson, Zep Jasper, these guys have got to have the ball in their hands at the end of games, in close games, to be able to close them out there at the free throw line. And 67% ain't going to cut it.
Nope.
It's not going to cut it. You will get beat shooting 67% from the free throw line.
Yeah, and that's another thing I want to talk about. There are 6 or 7 teams in the SEC, and I'm including Florida in that could win this league. I'm including Auburn in that. Mm-hmm. But if Auburn plays the way that they did last night, shooting 67% from 3, shooting 21% from 3, or for 67% from the free throw line, 21% from 3, and has 12 turnovers in the first half, that wasn't against Alabama, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tennessee, maybe LSU. That's way more than a 3-point game at halftime. Yeah, that's a 12, 13, 14-point game at halftime. At that point, it's you're not coming back from that. And that's a loss. And you just these are easily fixable mistakes that Auburn can make. Look, free throw shooting, you got to knock them down. We're a better free throw shooting team than 67%. We always have been, but that's something that can be figured out. 3-point shots are going to fall. Just find the right people to shoot them. I like Wendell having the green light. I like Jalen shooting the ball. I yell at him every time he catches the ball at the top of the key. He needs to shoot it.
He went 2 of 3 from 3 last night?
1 of 3.
1 of 3 from 3. He needs 5 to 7 a game.
I agree. I like the idea of having KD having the green light because I think that helps him when he's able to drive the ball. But it doesn't. He's not making them right now. He needs to see a few go in before he has that green light.
Let's talk about KD real quick.
Okay.
For the first 7 or 8 games, he'd catch it, dribble between the legs a couple times, and was jacking it.
Yeah.
Last night was the first time I've ever seen KD look hesitant to shoot the basketball. And that scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, I yell at him all the time, just take it to the basket. And he was trying to do that last night. But there were times when he had an open look.
Yeah.
It's open.
Yeah,
in college basketball,
like,
if you've got a couple feet between you and the guy coming at you,
let it go.
You're open.
Yeah.
Shoot it. And he is hesitating on that right now, and it worries me a little bit for him and for the team. We need him to be able to make that shot.
I agree.
And he can. I've seen him. We've all seen him do it over and over again.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but KD's been on my mind a lot after that game.
I agree. But again, easily fixable mistakes for every single one of Auburn's quote unquote problems in this game. The turnovers, they're all, I talked about earlier how a lot of them are caused because of good defense. Almost none of them were caused by good defense in this Florida game, especially in that first half. All of them were self-inflicted, just literally throwing the ball right out of bounds or right to them. It's just, that can't happen. When we play Alabama in February, that cannot happen. When we play Kentucky in January, that cannot happen. When we play Tennessee twice this year,
Arkansas in a week and a half.
And when we play Arkansas in a week and a half, even though they lost today or last night against LSU, they will blow you out if you play like this. Mm-hmm. So it's just, certain situations you've got to step up and make the right play. Let's get into more positive about this Florida game outside of, oh my gosh, we're 1-0. Unlike Kentucky and Arkansas. So
can I say it?
We're 1-0.
Can I say it? Janai Broome is Colin Castleton's father.
Okay.
I hate Colin Castleton. I'm sorry, I just do.
I don't think Colin Castleton was public enemy number 1 last night in Neville Arena.
Oh my gosh. So Colin,
look, he's a transfer from Michigan who was a first year at Florida last year, and in the Florida game in Auburn, he had a fantastic basketball game against Walker Kessler.
Made Walker look bad.
Probably Kessler's worst game through the whole year. And the Florida fans were really getting on the Auburn fans about, especially on Twitter, about, Colin Castleton's better than Walker Kessler. Oh, well, we'll see about that now. He's leading the NBA in blocks.
Whatever.
And even in the game against in Gainesville, Castleton didn't have a great game. They just jacked up every three that we made, and we turned the ball over every time down the floor. But Florida having a win over a number 2 ranked Auburn team, that's whatever. But Colin Castleton was put in his place last night.
Yes, he was.
By Janai Broome.
6 points.
That's not where I was headed for the good, though.
6 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. That's if Colin does that every night, they will lose a lot of games.
They will,
because they need him to be 10-10.
No, they need him to be 20.
Their whole starting 5 plus minus were all minus.
Wow.
All 5 of their starting 5 were minus.
That's
only
impressive.
3 guys on the team were plus. The Myron Jones, the CJ Felder, and the Kawasi Reeves were all pluses.
Reeves was fantastic.
Yeah, he was good.
Okay, so, but that's not where I was headed when I was talking about the good. Another good in this game, and we mentioned him especially in the Washington game. But look, Chris Moore
was
and I cannot say this enough, and the second time and just in this podcast that I'm basically drooling all over Chris Moore's basketball play so far, but he's been outstanding. He was unbelievable in this Florida game as well. Yep. He goes 3 of 6 from the field, 0 of 1 from 3. I thought his 1-3 was a fantastic shot.
It was good.
I want him to shoot those shots. I want him to shoot 1, 2,
he's gonna make
maybe 3 a game because he's going to make them. In the Washington game, he went 2 of 2. There'll be games where he has 12 points because he has 2 threes and a couple dunks. That's perfect, but that's not what makes him valuable. What makes him valuable is defensively. There were so many times, I know you'll just remember, you don't know what I'm talking about right now, but you'll remember here in just a second. There were so many times when Flanagan and KD and Zepp and Wendell and Traore and basically everybody except for Broom, Jalen, and Cardwell were out there who got completely lost defensively and gave up an open shot or an open lane or a complete straight line drive to Florida. Chris Moore didn't do that once. Yeah. He always knows where he is defensively, is always in the right position, can guard the basketball with any of them. And he's long enough to guard anybody out there. We talked about earlier in the year, I was just discussing, okay, who are we going to put on Brandon Miller for Alabama, the best freshman in college basketball? Who are we going to put on him? And I always thought it was going to be Flanagan. No. That's going to be Chris Moore. And he's going to drive Brandon Miller up a tree.
I think you're right. So I thought he was the best player on the floor last night for most of the game.
Yeah.
And you look, his stat line is not overly
it's
impressive.
It's never going to be impressive.
8 points, 3 boards, 2 assists. It's a big 3 steals. And that's where you're talking about is his defensive effort is in stealing the ball. But the energy that he provides, and I don't know how to say this without being upsetting. I love the energy that Dylan Cardwell and KD provide, but the energy that Chris provides is a different kind.
Yeah.
Not that Dylan's is fake, but Dylan's is more playing to the crowd, as is KD's.
Yeah.
Chris seems to get his energy and direct it at his teammates.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they rally around it. Look, for a while last night in the first half, he was the only player that was awake.
Defensively, exactly.
Awake.
Yeah.
Wake up. And for a kid that in high school played the post, he played the 4 and the 5 in high school. He comes in here and he no way he's going to play 4 or 5. He's got to play the 2, sometimes the 3.
Yeah.
But he is starting to figure that position out, both defensively, like you said, and offensively,
just
like
taking
like
his role.
Said,
he's
hit
in
a
his
couple
role.
threes a game, drive to the basket. He jumps out of the gym. He can fly.
Yeah,
and just do what they need that slot to do, and provide the energy that's different than Dylan and KD.
Yeah,
Dylan and KD get the jungle fired up. Chris Moore gets his teammates fired up. And that's a big difference.
There is a big difference, and both are very good.
Absolutely.
Both
I don't want to demean one or the other.
We want both.
Yeah.
But I agree, he's invaluable. There are certain, and we talked about this, especially last year a lot with Alan Flanagan, never seemed to look like he knew or fit whatever role he wanted or was in. Chris Moore knows exactly what role he is and excels in it extremely because he knows his role offensively. He knows he's not going to average 16, 15, 14 points a game. He knows he's not going to get 8, 9 rebounds like Broom or probably Cardwell are. He knows he's not going to get 7, 8 shots a game unless they're all dunks, which I would love. I think that would be amazing. And I think he thinks that would be amazing. But he knows his role offensively and defensively. He knows defensively, not just in my, one of the leaders, one of the top on ball defenders, but my job is to get my teammates hyped up. That's part of my role. That's part of his role. And he knows it. He was outstanding.
He was the only starter without a turnover, by the way. He was the only starter without a turnover.
And now a lot of that comes into not having the ball in his hands a lot. He runs a lot of off-ball stuff when you watch him offensively. So that's not a dig at, say, Wendell, who had 3 turnovers in this game.
I'm not trying to dig at Wendell.
Wendell's going to have 3 turnovers in a game because he's the starting point guard. But he
somebody that does play off the ball as well as Jalen Williams. He had 4 turnovers in that game.
Yeah.
So when you're turning the ball over, when that's the issue, and we've identified that as the issue since USC Washington in this game.
Yeah.
When that's the issue, finding a guy that can be on the court for how long was he on the court? 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And not turn the ball over.
That's pretty good.
That's
pretty good.
That's pretty dang valuable.
Yeah.
That's pretty dang valuable.
No doubt.
And the only starter that didn't turn the ball over. So
I agree.
Yeah, big time. Big time. Sorry, Zepp didn't turn the ball over either. So that's
okay.
Good for Zepp.
Yeah, Zepp never turns the ball over.
But Zepp only played 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I agree. I thought Chris Moore was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
And he needs to continue to play like that. So
moving on to talk about what is next. So Auburn does not play this Saturday. This Saturday is New Year's Eve. That seems a little odd to me because that's right in our schedule. Like, come on now, come on SEC. So, but they will play Wednesday night in the beautiful, ugly town of Athens, Georgia, to play against the Georgia Bulldogs in Mike White's first year or is his second year?
It's his first year.
And
he's got him playing pretty good.
They are playing pretty well. They're playing better than a lot of people thought they would be playing. They're not near as talented or as probably 13 of the 14 SEC teams, but you go to Athens, it's going to be a big game. Obviously, KD going back. We talk about how emotional that could be for him. Again, you got all the Georgia boys that are on the team this year going back.
By the way, we were much more talented than they were last year as well. And if it weren't for Wendell getting the pass from Walker and driving the length of the court, we'd have lost that game in Stegman.
Yeah.
So it's a hard place to play for some reason. It's not that they're loud. It's not.
It's just Georgia.
It's Georgia basketball.
It's just Georgia. That's the problem.
It's Georgia, and I can't stand the Bulldogs. And we're better than they are. But if we turn it over 12 times in the first half,
they could beat us.
And you let them stay in that game, they will beat you at home.
I agree.
So we've got to be better.
You've got to find a way to have a stretch in the game, if not multiple stretches in the game, where you had against Washington, where you were putting on an offensive clinic. If you can have that multiple times, maybe one in each half, pull away in both different times, you'll win the game easily.
And just don't go without scoring for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And when I see that stat flash up on the
0 field goals the last 4.5 minutes.
Oh my God, that's awful. You're going to lose games like this.
Yeah.
So Georgia's talented enough to stay in the game. If they can stay in the game, Mike White's a good enough coach to run something good at the end and beat you.
Yeah.
So don't let them stay in the game. Don't turn the ball over. Shoot 70 plus from the free throw line, please.
Yeah.
And don't be like Kentucky.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna fire
that's
Calipari
how
next week.
We will wrap this one up. This edition of the Jungle Show. Thank you all for joining us on this edition. We'll be back next week to discuss the Georgia game and preview the Arkansas game next weekend. So that'll be a very, very big one. So very excited about that. If you want to find all the amazing stuff on auburndaily.com, just go there, or at the Auburn Daily on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter at Chris Oldenburg, at War Eagle Hoops. Until next time, any final words, Dan?
War Eagle, we're 1-0. Kentucky's 0-1. War damn.